Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. Alright, this is Naaman with the DC Camp, back for another video. And, well, before anything else, call halal Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Kar Kodash. Once again, double honors go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. I'd like to also send out salutations to the fellow Akim that are out there on the highways and byways, pushing the truth across the four corners of this earth. Alright, trying to wake up the remaining, hopefully elect. Alright, because time grows short. You're seeing the mayhem and outcry of the people. Alright, and it's following prophecy, unlike any other time in history. Alright, so indeed, these prophecies, these signs that we see are indications. It's almost here. Alright, almost time for the Lord to make his return. Alright, but right here, this is like 8 days old, so forgive me for bringing this up. But let's show here the hill and the Jake here. It's rare that you see them. Hey, she's gonna bring it out. She's gonna put it out there. I don't know how long she's gonna be there as a result. You know, they also have controlled opposition, but we'll see. Anyway, it says pro-Israel literal false flag exposed. All right, because we know, and this bill that just passed in the House, to where, you know, they're cracking down on any type of what they deem as anti-Semitism, and it's so vaguely defined. All right, you can tell that these people are nervous. All right, they're being found out. They're trying to use or find any excuse that they can. And I find it funny because most of the things in that bill is what they do to our people. All right, denying certain things ever happened, constantly criticizing us, to say like, oh well, these people are always they're responsible for all the crimes and all this shit. So the hypocrisy of these pieces of shit it blows your mind. But let's go ahead and roll this video for time's sake. All right, again, this is from The Hill. All right.
All right, Brianna, what's on your radar?
Well, Robbie, if outright lies are a sign of a movement in desperation, then the pro-Zionist movement might be cooked. As you know, for months, the media has been working in overdrive to downplay atrocities committed by Israel against Palestinians, while credulously endorsing unsubstantiated and since disproven stories about, say, 40 beheaded babies, mass rapes on October 7th, and Hamas headquarters under now destroyed hospitals. A leaked New York Times internal memo revealed that journalists are discouraged from using the words genocide, ethnic cleansing, occupied territory, refugee.
But only when it applies to them folk. You see what's going on here? Leaked New York Times Gaza leaked New York Times Gaza memo tells journalists to avoid words genocide, ethnic cleansing. Why? So they own that now? You can only say these things when it applies to the JOOs. You know, we are in that, well, I guess they just finished their Passover or whatever have you. So, an occupied territory, which it is. It always has been. This is theft, remember. When we go to Ezekiel 36 chapter, all right, I encourage you to read it if you haven't. Those prophecies, it's spot on. All right, Balfour Declaration. That's not in the scriptures. Balfour Declaration. And see, they're getting real nervous now. Like I said, they're grasping at straws. All right, because all this truth is coming out. All right, exposing them. Remember, Second Thessalonians, second chapter. All right, and there's many others. We're going to get some of them. All right, it's telling you, uh, Zechariah 9 and 6. You know, they're bastards. They're frauds. All right, they don't belong there, and they're saying, in particular, the ethnic cleansing. Because let's go and look at what they're actually trying to do. If I can remember to spell this bastard's name. What is it? Canal. This is what they're trying to accomplish, and have wanting to been doing so. Here it is, and this is from November, so roughly 6.5 months. All right, here we go. Here, what is Israel's Ben Gurion Canal plan and why Gaza matters? I'm talking about ethnic cleansing, but that's what you're doing. Ariel Sharon, all right, and this is from 1971. That fucking bastard. This is him here, the late prime minister. All right, before this fuckhead now, and then he mysteriously went into a coma for a while and then died. This bastard that they have in now, Netanyahu, was, I guess you can say, at least, I'm trying to choose my words carefully here, indirectly responsible for the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin, because he provided that atmosphere. People were so he stoked the fire, so to speak, all right, that led to the assassination of that prime minister. Yes, he did. And Rabin's widow hated, I'm pretty sure she's dead now, hated Netanyahu for that. And this is when he started to become more and more popular. So they were grooming him for this. But here is Ariel Sharon here. And he was also famous for what is known as the tactics that they use. Talking about these fake Israelites, these Israelis. It's called, damn it, I did a video on it. Damn it. Hold on. Just bear with me. It'll come to me, but the tactic was that they will go into these totally against the law, crossing over the borders to antagonize these Arabs, right, these Ishmaelites, and commit crimes and encourage them to come and after trying to retaliate, and gets blamed for it. What is that called? Covert aggression. Ariel Sharon here was a master at that. All right. He was responsible for a lot of deaths. All right. Anyway, it says, as Israel continues its onslaught on the besieged Gaza Strip, talks about a long-discussed economic opportunity known as the Ben Gurion Canal project has surfaced online. Named after Israel's founding father, David Ben, I guess that's their King David, now that I think of it, David Ben Gurion. The project, conceived in the late 60s, sought to create an alternative route to the Suez Canal. Because why? They don't have control over the Suez. All right, the primary shipping route connecting Europe and Asia. While Israel rejects calls for a ceasefire and its military campaign on Gaza shows no sign of an immediate end, it becomes crucial to delve into the historical context of the Ben Gurion Canal project. So now I've provided, and I encourage you to look this up. I'll put it in the link to this particular one. I mean, there are others that probably go into it. Okay, this gives you a little history here, a timeline of the Suez Canal. The French, more colonialist, all right. 99-year lease. That was 1858. All right. And then Suez Canal opens 10 years later in 68. The canal company. And, you know, you can look at this at your own leisure, but for time's sake, I'm gonna go back to the video here. And like I said, you can read this at your own leisure here. I'll be sure to put the link to this in the description box after I post. All right, so back to the video. You know, now you understand why. All right, these things are happening. All right, let's see. What the hell did I do? All right. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to the video. So they don't want you to. I guess these are the buzzwords here. You can't do this. All right. Now you know why. Genocide, ethnic cleansing, because that's what they're doing in occupied territory.
G-camps, or even the word Palestine at the New York Times. And a quantitative analysis by The Intercept conducted back in January showed that Palestinians were mentioned less in the news the more the death toll mounted. And words like slaughter and massacre were used 60 times more when referring to Israelis versus Palestinians.
There you go.
Even as the Palestinian death toll reached tens of thousands. New reporting from E. Alex Young in the New York Magazine details how the ADL's Jonathan Greenblatt openly lobbied MSNBC for more pro-Israel coverage, saying right on Morning Joe, out in the open, who was writing the scripts? Hamas? And he was successful. As one employee told Young, everyone put the screws to NBC and MSNBC to change the tenor of our coverage. Another employee told him that around October 7th, context was not welcome. Context was a bad word. Empathy for Palestinians felt forbidden inside MSNBC. Yet despite these feats of media engineering, the public still overwhelmingly supports a permanent ceasefire in Gaza.
Because that's what it is, because who owns the media? And it's no conspiracy theory for you idiots out there. All right? It's amazing that in this day and age you still got, that just can't, I'm going to put it this way, that refuse to see, all right, what's going on here. All right? Here it is, plain to see these people are getting slaughtered over there. All right? Now, bear in mind, neither one of them belong there. That's not their land, that's our land. But here, clearly you have a one-sided situation here where these people are just getting slaughtered. They can't fight back, clearly. And she's going to, I don't want to jump the gun here, but there's evidence of mass graves. All right, continuing on.
And conditioning military aid to Israel, even if Biden doesn't. This media battle may in part have motivated the TikTok ban, which successfully passed the Senate yesterday. All that's left now is for Biden to sign it into law.
And let's be clear, that TikTok mess, you have a lot of these politicians that have stock in its competition. Aside from the fact that a lot of truth is coming out on TikTok against America and these crooked ass politicians, these laws, and the conflicts and all that. All this information is damning, all right, to the U.S. They want it gone, and China isn't behind that, and they know it.
Terrorism isn't something to fear if Trump is reelected. It's already here.
And he's in on it too.
Biden and Trump, establishment Democrats and Republicans alike, have backed the ban, and they're not being discreet about why they're so fond of it. Take a listen to NYU professor Scott Galloway blaming pro-Palestine protests on TikTok.
What might sound paranoid doesn't mean I'm wrong. I think we are being manipulated, specifically youth, through their frame for the world is TikTok. And if you look at TikTok, there are 52 videos that are pro-Hamas or pro-Palestinian for every one served on Israel. I think that we are being manipulated. I think Americans are easier to fool, they're convinced they've been fooled. But if I were the CCP, I'd be doing exactly the same thing.
He's not.
No, what it is, they're butthurt because they're used to controlling the narrative, all right? And it's not working. I'm thinking of Isaiah 47 chapter about the witchcrafts and everything. That voodoo that they used to do so well doesn't work for them anymore. And it's a clear sign that they're being brought down. You know, I'd encourage you to read Isaiah 4. Well, let's get it real quick. Hold on. Let's see. Let's see. Let's go into Isaiah because there's a whole lot of witchcraft going on here. All right. This is Isaiah 47 and 1. All right. It says, the vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. Oops. Alright. The hell? Salakia. Thing got a mind of his own. Alright. It says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal. Uncover thy locks. Make bare the leg. Uncover the thigh. Pass over the rivers. What is that telling you? Alright. What's going on here is they're being exposed. You know, when a woman, you know, she's going maybe unexpectedly, maybe not. You know, it all depends. When she's going to like cross over a creek, what does she do? She lifts up her skirt, you know, being exposed. That's what's happening. All right. Pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as man. This is when the Lord comes back. See what happened, why they're mad at people like Snowden and all these others. Still got the guy being held, WikiLeaks. You know, it really pissed them off because it caught them in the act. All right. And the same, you know, the U.S. is, this is one of their like proxies. All right, proxy wars, continuing to rearm these pieces of shit. All right, and they're slaughtering these people. People don't have a chance. And all the lies concerning Ukraine. Listen, Ukraine isn't even a pimple on Russia's ass. They, you know, and funneling all that money, and all it is a huge money laundering scheme, right? Because those same people are the people that occupy the land of Israel, claiming to be the chosen. There's a whole history there with Russia and that region, Ukraine, and how they, my God, when you go back to, you know, the Khazarian Empire and all that, and you just got some wicked people. They really can't stand them. This is a whole history there that a lot of people are unaware of. All right, there's cause and effect for everything. All right, it says, as for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. You know, you have the Most High Yahweh and his Son Yahweh Shai. All right, so sit thou silent and get thee in the darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. You know, everybody used to, you know, America could do no wrong in the eyes, or at least so we thought, in the eyes of the world. You know, people used to want to be so quick to come over here. They may have thought that the streets were literally paved with gold, you know. It says, I was wroth, verse 6, I was wroth with my people, all right. I have polluted my inheritance and given them into thine hand. Whose is his inheritance? This is Israel. So we're talking about the real Israelites, all right. Thou didst show them no mercy, and they never have. This America has been a very bitter place for the true children of Israel, all right. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. Oh, have they. They had no mercy for young or old, and still don't. And thou saidest, I shall be a, this is the hubris of these devils, these Americans. I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thine heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Ultimately, it's talking about the elites and their military arm, which is America, and then you got London, which is the financial, and then you have the Vatican, which is the religious. All right, that goes into Revelation 16th chapter. Those three unclean frogs. All right. It's verse 8. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. That's that, like I said, that hubris, that pride. And we all know Proverbs 16 and 18, right? Pride goeth before a fall, right? Yeah. Guess what's going to happen? There's that separation, which they never were. All right. The Most High was never with America. This was all set up from the beginning. It was set up to fail. All right. And these Freemasons already knew that back in the way back when. There's a story with the Statue of Liberty and what it was actually supposed to represent. Yes, they say it was, as a symbol for overcoming slavery and all that. No, it was supposed to be a figure cloaked in, what was it? Where's that? Let's go to.
Not the only one.
Hold on.
Fox
hold on.
News.
We'll get back to you. On the roll here. Let's go to Revelation 17. Alright, this is what it was actually supposed to represent. And on our forward there to see, here it is. And the woman was arrayed. Now this is John, alright, the Revelator. He's been shown this vision, alright. He says, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Now we all seen the sign that we have at the camps with the seven-headed dragon with the woman, But that Statue of Liberty was also originally, all right. Let's go back to. Well, of course they didn't do that. They don't want to make it too obvious. All right.
Posted a TikTok star with 1 million followers who, ostensibly against his own interest, also supports a ban because Hamas.
You really have seen since October 7th especially, the algorithm seems to have taken a bit of an ominous turn. I mean, you're really seeing Gen Z become Gen T, Gen terrorism. And I say that not just as a joke, but as a reality.
For what?
Of course, that is not reality. Gen Z doesn't support terrorism or Osama bin Laden, as he later claims in that clip. But social media did allow Osama bin Laden's 2001 Why I Didn't letter to finally be read widely, decades after it had been suppressed by Western media, and folks too young to remember 9/11 learned what many of us who were old enough to know better had forgotten or buried. That bin Laden cited U.S. support for, quote, the oppressive Israelis in their occupation of our Palestine as a motive for the 9/11 attacks. The kids aren't supporting Osama bin Laden. Rather, they're wisely asking whether, 2 decades and several forever wars later, Palestinian statehood would have been a quicker path to peace than a war on terror. The TikTok influencer called Gen T for terrorists, that the terrorism that's motivating Gen Z and the majority of Americans isn't conducted by Hamas. They're motivated by the gruesome images of slain, starving, and injured Palestinians.
Yeah.
The 13,000 murdered children,
Mm-hmm.
schools, a father collecting pieces of his children in a plastic bag. Images that have become ubiquitous on TikTok. These images are shared not because China wants it to be so, but because moral hearts feel compelled to share them as part of an appeal to make it stop. But in the face of a clear American consensus that the siege must end, the American state only has one response: authoritarianism. The House Senate shooted to leave the only Palestinian American in Congress for demanding freedom for Palestine from the river to the sea. Congress passed a resolution defining anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism. According to our government, to criticize a foreign government is tantamount to a hate crime. The Biden administration has engaged in Orwellian doublespeak, claiming it supports a two-state solution, while just days ago it vetoed a resolution blocking full UN membership for Palestine. A place so taboo, remember? But the New York Times recommends not referring to Palestine at all. And now for one of the greatest disappearing tricks in the history of modern media, an explosive story about mass graves filled with hundreds of Palestinians is being, ironically, buried under a mountain of coverage about student protests at elite universities. It took nearly a week for the mainstream media to finally report on this story. More than 300 bodies pulled from a mass grave in the southern city of Khan Yunis. Local authorities report and photographs corroborate that some of the bodies were found with bound hands and feet, indicating possible field executions or people who may have been.
But they're not telling you that, but they told you a bold-faced lie about babies being put in ovens and beheaded and all this other shit. Alright, but what they actually did, let's replay that real quick.
Found with bound hands and feet, indicating
Bound
possible
hands
field
and feet.
executions or people who may have been buried alive were found with bound hands and feet. Only a week for the mainstream media to finally report on this story. More than 300 bodies pulled from a mass grave in the southern city of Khan Yunis. Local authorities report and photographs corroborate that some of the bodies were found with bound hands and feet, indicating possible field executions or people who may have been buried alive.
See, these are these sick bastards running around the world talking about they're the chosen. In the meantime, that's just a cover. Alright, all through, remember I told you a little bit about that history there. It's a reason why them fucking Russians don't like these motherfuckers. Alright? People possibly buried alive. And she's not finished.
One handcuffed corpse whose picture circulated widely on social media was wearing scrubs, raising questions as to whether he was a slaughtered medical professional. When questioned by the New York Times about whether Israeli forces killed and buried these victims, Israel declined to address the claims. A top UN official yesterday called for an inquiry into the mass graves, but if you're wondering what our own government has to say about it, well, take a listen.
On Saturday, a Palestinian civil defense crews have uncovered a mass grave with 180 people, including women, men, and children, that Israel had basically killed those.
And look at this stuff. The expressions on these motherfuckers' face. Look, just look. They know what's going on, but man, how can you? For the love of money. Goodness. You know it's some bullshit.
Do you have any comment on
I've seen those reports.
Not that I'm surprised or amazed. No. I know who I'm dealing with. You know, it's just you realize that the people that listen to this and just dismiss it like, oh well, you know, that's Israel over there. They have to be right. I mean, they soak these. Continuing on.
Reports, and we are inquiring about it with the government of Israel.
Will the U.S. press the Israelis to find out more about this?
That's exactly what we're doing.
Don't worry, they're inquiring about it. Note that I had to scroll past no fewer than 4 articles about Ivy League campus protests to finally reach the mass grave story at the New York Times. It seems that just like the TikTok ban, congressional censorship, and style guides that ban legally accurate terms like occupation, the strategy here seems to be to simply hide the ball, downplay atrocities, and sometimes to outright lie.
Yep.
Now, here, talk about a false flag. Literally, for about a week, right-leaning establishment media, including Fox News, the New York Post, and Daily Mail, along with outlets like the Daily Caller and the Washington Examiner, ran with incendiary headlines about a physical attack on a Jewish student. As these outlets ignored and downplayed mass graves in Gaza, their headlines rang out, quote, Jewish Yale students stabbed in the eye. Peers joined the Nazi Party. Cops at Yale arrest violent anti-Israel protesters after Jewish student journalist stabbed in the eye. Jewish student jabbed in eye with Palestinian flagpole while reporting on protest. Mob behavior, qualified Fox News. But after days of this coverage, days during which this incident was used to justify the mass arrest, suspension, and expulsion of students around the country, the truth has come out in the form of a video. Now, we weren't able to get permission to play the video here in time for this segment, but if you saw or get to see it, it was a blink and you'd miss it moment. As it turns out, the flagpole in question was a tiny handheld flag that apparently touched the victim's face as protesters walked by in a packed crowd. But look at how the anti-Palestinian movement rallied around this victim.
See this shit?
Embracing a false victim narrative, lives of TikTok Chaya Rachik tweeted on Monday, a Jewish student was stabbed in the eye at Yale and a bunch of terrorist sympathizers are now running Columbia. The 300,000 follower Twitter account run by the Stop Anti-Semitism group put a hit out on the flag bearer, asking folks to identify him and, quote, help secure his arrest. Enough is...
I want you to take that in. That's why I'm pausing. This is at Yale. A female Jewish student was stabbed in the eye by the pictured man at last night's pro-terror rally on campus. So they're saying that this is the man. They want Wow. Wow. How quick they are to turn things around. Just outright lie. Alright? Wow. But these are the people that we've been trying to tell you. Ultimately, these lying bastards, alright, rule this world. And you've got to wonder about, well, this tiny little country, in which you're going to find out why some of those Republican, a lot of them, and some of those Democrats that join with them to sign this bill, this anti-Semitism piece of shit legislation, for one little tiny thing. All right, they're pissed off that they can't say that, they can no longer say that the Jews killed Christ. Yeah, no shit. That was their only concern in that. Not everything else. And like I said earlier, when you read that shit, it's okay for what they're saying don't do to them, but it's so quick to do to our people. All those listed things that they say don't do to them, they are so quick to do to us. The hypocrisy is staggering. It's mind-blowing. It's right in your face. Continuing on.
Enough. Barry Weiss, never far from moments like these, gave the victim space to write her own op-ed on Barry Weiss's very popular Substack, The Free Press. The Free Press. Freedom, apparently, is weaponizing false victimhood to call for the arrest of peaceful protesters.
That's what they do.
Who knew? The free speech grip.
The whole thing about the Holocaust. Oops, excuse me. You know, that's big in that. You cannot deny. Of course, in Europe, it's always been you get fined and or in prison or both. We told you that was coming here eventually. Ta-da!
It has been thoroughly exposed by Gaza. With hundreds of students participating in protests at Columbia, there have been almost no documented instances of anti-Semitism or violence by Columbia University students on Columbia University property. Thin anti-Semitism on campus stories are fleshed out with ominous descriptions of normal occurrences. Take a new John...
Salaki. See, the thing is, like I said at the outset, they're being exposed for the rat bastards that they are, the lying pieces of shit that they really are. Oh my good, they used to have it so good when you think about it. Everybody was so quick to jump on their side. They could do no wrong, but now, all right, that curtain has been pulled back. All right, that veil has been lifted. Isaiah 25:7. Everybody sees. All right, it's like that Wizard of Oz analogy with the dog Toto. And they pulled the curtain back, and guess who was, So you got to understand, a lot of their power, all right, came from, all right, their secrecy. It ain't like that no more. I mean, you got, well, I'm not gonna say a few. You have a lot of people that are just from the neck up, just zombies, all right, and they're not gonna tell that. They're not gonna believe what you tell them anyway. All right, those are your zombies. Those are your walking dead. All right. Primarily, we're talking about Jake, but hey, that's why a lot of our people got to go.
On McWhorter op-ed, one of the 4 campus protest pieces I had to scroll through to get to the mass grave story in the New York Times. In it, McWhorter writes, "The other night, I watched a dad coming home from the protest with his little girl, giving a good hard few final snaps on the drum he was carrying, nodding at her in a crisp salute, percussing his perspective into her little mind. This is not peaceful." What? A father and his child protesting a genocide while playing the drums isn't peaceful? Or take this post by English media personality Ollie London, in which he describes a joyful interfaith dance as a, quote, cult-like tribal dance while dancing and clapping to Arabic music. To drum up the evidence needed to justify exerting state violence.
See, that also,
anti-war
Slocky, that also got a little delay here, Slocky. That also tells you all this propaganda, all the lives lost because of the propaganda, that you're seeing the resistance to that now, these universities. Remember, this is not BLM, all right, where people are rioting and turning over cars and, looting and burning down shit. No, these are people that are in these prestigious universities that are your future leaders, and they're getting body slammed. Professors getting body slammed. These are people with the quote unquote proper connections. All right, the next works. All right. So this reeks of desperation on these JOOs. All right, because they can't enjoy this. What's the word? The freedom that they want, I guess, for lack of a better word, where they just knew people were going to be suckers and, automatically, those are the chosen people, but no, more people are questioning the validity of all of that, and rightfully so. This is beautiful times indeed. All right, back to the video.
Protesters. Anti-Palestinian news outlets have trained their lens on the streets of New York outside Columbia's gates in an effort to paint peaceful interfaith demonstrations like the beautiful Passover Seders of the last couple of nights as violent and anti-Semitic, ignoring even mainstream reporters like NBC's Antonia Hilton, who tweeted that her team, quote, spent long hours reporting on and around Columbia's campus on Thursday and Friday and didn't see a single instance of violence or aggression on the lawn or at the student encampment. And hearteningly, even though Columbia students are not responsible for the couple of outlier instances of inappropriate or outright anti-Semitic signage or chanting, they have been quick to condemn those actions. And why wouldn't they? They're not anti-Semitic. This is an interfaith movement that has been co-led by Jewish students and Jewish groups like Jewish Voices for Peace and Not in Our Name from the beginning. Despite the media's framing of these protests as against Jewish students, it's largely Jewish students who have been arrested in droves, hauled off in zip ties, rounded up, and expelled from university, targeted by authoritarian Christian
I just thought of something too. Earlier, I had mentioned about Ariel Sharon, and one of the things he used to do is being he led a few units and what I called covert aggression. Part of that article that I read, I did a couple of videos on it years ago. It stated that this is how they keep their people in line, all right, with fear tactics and all that, but they're losing the control, all right. This is that's why I said that they're losing it. They, like I said, that voodoo that they used to do so well isn't working for them anymore, all right. These things, these tactics that they used to, it's not working. This is, oh man, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see they're falling.
Conservatives like Tom Cotton, who was calling for the National Guard to put them down. As Jewish protesters bear a disproportionate share of state violence alongside Arab and Muslim activists who have been bearing the brunt of these attacks. I can't help but recall the Kent State Massacre, during which Nixon sent the National Guard to put down Vietnam protesters. As a consequence, 4 students were killed, 3 of them Jewish. Sandra Schuer, aged 20. Jeffrey Miller, aged 20. Allison Krauss, aged 19. I humbly submit that those students who died protesting a vicious war were genuine victims. Compare them to the students demanding safety today, as they antagonize peaceful pro-Palestine protesters and demand that forces of the state haul them off to prison. As always, this isn't a right-left dynamic, it's a top-down one, where billionaires like Patriots owner Robert Kraft, Bill Ackman, and Elon Musk are all aligned with the war machine.
Yep.
Multi-billion-dollar university endowments are
Exposed.
literally invested in weapons manufacturing. Congress members are calling for the National Guard and censoring their colleagues for criticizing a foreign country. The Supreme Court is turning a blind eye as 3 states imperil the right to protest at all. America is entering one of its most dangerous, most authoritarian, most fascistic moments. And I have to point out, it has nothing to do with Donald Trump. This is a big which side are you on moment for the country. It could be a moment of unity, with the people demonstrating solidarity against a political and media class that wants to thrust us into global conflict and make us pay for the mass murder of civilians. What will happen remains to be seen. Will people power force the powerful to submit to us for once? Can the people resist as moneyed elites threaten to pull their funds and threaten us with arrest, with doxing, or even threaten us financially if we don't comply with their ideology? Or will we side with state power, the National Guard?
What? Let's
and
look at
state
that.
truth?
David Frum. No student loan forgiveness for students arrested for disrupting other students' educational activities. See what they're resorting to? Again, these are the so-called, in these at least prominent universities, and as she's going to get to here, that's all you hear. You're not talking about the ones that aren't considered elite, these universities, because it's more than Brown and Yale and Harvard and Princeton. It's more. Again, no student loan forgiveness for students arrested for disrupting other students' educational activities. But I can guarantee you, as they did with Jake, when it came down to where they would take a knee for Israel, but they couldn't even, but the flack that they took for taking a knee for protesting police brutality and the other racist shit that was happening to their own people. See where I'm going? The hypocrisy.
Groups who put down Vietnam protesters, the elites in Congress who just cleared a $95 billion aid package for Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. Indeed, which side are you on?
I said a while ago, and I'm not the only one, these last few years have been about lines being drawn in the sand. Which side are you on? This movie that came out, Civil War. My goodness, and people can't actually. And again, here we are with Jake. Jake, you can just see them out here on a daily, just lost. So preoccupied in their base, low-level activities, unaware of what's coming. Totally unaware. Could give a shit. You tell them these things and they just look at you with glazed over eyes. You know. Now here's
Let
this
me ask
clown.
you this. You seem to think that the protests are being overcovered and the incident, the atrocities, the mass graves are being undercovered.
Duh.
Is that not an argument against, on practical, technical grounds, the kind of protests that are going on college campuses, if they are providing a distraction, if they are refocusing the media toward their antics? Isn't that an argument for not doing exactly what they're doing?
If I thought the absence of the student protests would provoke deeper coverage of the mass graves, that would be a good argument. But we've seen various distraction techniques being exploited by the media for over 6 months now. That has justified, enabled it to avoid reporting on some of the most egregious, violent atrocities that have occurred in Gaza. And to the enormous credit of the students, they have constantly and consistently reframed their efforts to not being about themselves. They tell people, don't stand in solidarity with us, don't complain about us getting arrested, focus on what we're fighting for, which is for our multi-million, billion-dollar organizations, universities, to divest from weapons manufacturers, intelligence systems that are directly contributing to what the ICJ has described as a plausible genocide in Gaza. So to the extent that the media is choosing not to report on mass graves and choosing instead to try to reframe this issue.
I mean,
as
they are reporting on them. I looked at mass graves, New York Times, CNN, our own website.
That's the point that I made. This story from over the weekend took literally days to appear for the first time yesterday. I believe the story broke. There was a mass grave story from 2 weeks ago, and there was the most recent one that I think broke on Friday or Saturday. And the whole weekend, multiple stories about what a handful of students at elite, in the grand scheme of America, at elite colleges are doing. Not even covering the protests that are happening at less elite colleges, like in Minnesota and other parts of the country, that are equally important, and whose students actually have, I think, a lot more at risk because they don't come from as Tony backgrounds as many of the students.
Because they
Columbia
don't have those
University do.
connections.
And they've chosen to focus on that. And buried way down the page, if you go, I don't know what it looks like now, but yesterday, I had to literally scroll by 2 op-eds, a Brett Stevens op-ed, I believe, and the John McWhorter op-ed, in addition to 2 other reported stories about the protests, before I got to one short story
No, I
about
know.
these mass
These things
graves.
always get a lot of coverage. I mean, that's been true. Every time there's a kerfuffle on campus, it gets overcovered. The media has a enduring appetite for these kinds of stories, and it is obviously the case that the viewers and readers of elite media also have an appetite for what's going on in elite spaces. So I guess I would just say, if the protesters are trying to refocus, I worry that the Palestinian cause is afflicted with some of the least sympathetic kinds of protesters of any cause on earth. But
I think the TikTok ban suggests otherwise. I think the polls showing large and growing sympathy for Palestine suggest otherwise. And in fact, the movement that is really flailing right now is isolation of Jewish students, while at the same time ignoring the real assaults on Jewish students who are protesting in favor of Palestinian human rights.
And yet, our people are still the number one victims of hate crimes. All right, you have to keep in mind that when they bring up these stats on these JOOs, they're always going to put that word religious persecution. All right. But a lot of people don't pick up on that. No, we're talking about with Jake, it's every day. You know, they'll say, well, ever since October 7th, of course. But what about before then? See, they're always looking for an excuse, all right, as for some misplaced sympathy, all right. Whereas Jake gets shot 60 times. Oh well, he shouldn't have. You know, blah blah. You know, man.
That are not coming from a protester that got nudged or brushed with the flag during an on-campus debate by another young person, but by the arm of the state being called in to round up, arrest, zip tie, and haul away
I didn't
Jewish
say
students.
anything. I didn't say anything about in any of our commentary on the campus stuff because I hadn't been able to look closely enough.
I wonder what he is. What's this fucking Rihanna? Let's see. Who's this idiot? This is a good comment here by Nadrik00. And this is from Edward Snowden. When exposing a crime is treated as committing a crime, you are being ruled by criminals. That ties into that quote by Voltaire. Alright. You know who's ruling over you when what? You're not, you know, well, let's get it real quick. I don't want to butcher it. I mean, it's right in people's face, and they're still, what is it called? They're in denial, like, wow. Let's see. I guess I should say quotes. Here we go. Come on now. Let's see. Voltaire. Let's see. Let's go to Britannica. Let's see. Let's see. Well, it should be. It says top 10. Let's see if it's in there. I can't believe they give you all that. I want to go straight to the point. I can't believe this. Oh boy, this is crazy. They do. Wow. I can't believe this shit. This is a good one right here. To the wicked, everything serves as pretext. Alright? Another thing what we're dealing with here. Alright? That's actually a very good one. But damn it, that's not what I was looking for. Oh, man. This is crazy, man. This is absolutely fucking crazy. Every other time I look this up, it's like one of the first ones. Wow. This may be it. Shit. This is crazy. What the fuck? Wow. That's interesting. I apologize. I mean, I just thought it would be, just something that would be readily. I can't understand this one. But anyway, since I can't find it, I'll just leave it alone. I spent way too much time on that. I apologize. But something to the effect, Albert Einstein quotes, let's see, Americans must be freed from APAC. Yeah, someone else brought the fact up that, well, and in form of questions, why isn't there a Africa pack? Why isn't there a German pack or any other pack? It's always APAC with these. It is a real shame that highly educated media professionals are unable to report fairly. Here's another one. What's crazy to me is that many of these people criticizing the government and media over Palestine still can't fathom that maybe the whole COVID thing was a little distorted too. If they're black, then it's a gang. If they're Italian, it's a mob. But if they're Jewish, it's a coincidence and should never speak about it. Dave Chappelle. Telling the truth is not terrorism unless your nation and culture is fully based on telling lies. There you go. God dang it. Here's another one. Remember Isaiah 29:16. It says, opposing genocide is criminal, but supporting and paying for genocide is virtuous. Upside down civilization. See, there you go. Who are we talking about? All right. Man, these people are mad crazy. And this is from Just Simple 90. Calling someone a terrorist for telling and showing the truth. Again, upside down. Alright? This media lost me, I mentioned this earlier, when they lied about seeing video of 40 babies being beheaded. There you go. So, like I said, they're being exposed. They can't. Oh man, let's finish this out.
Enough at that, and I thought it might be an accidental kind of thing, and so I didn't say anything about it. I've focused my criticism of the protesters on the chain of protesters on the campus who tried to eject what they described as Zionist students from their midst, and the person who was having calling on Hamas to get these people, and that was on campus. I do agree that most of and this is not controversial because even people who are very supportive of these protests, like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, have said the same thing, that most of the people causing most of the genuine mayhem are outside interlopers trying to get in, which is at all of the.
Or we have a bunch of, paid instigators, all right, infiltrators, whatever have you. All right, why? Because it's those people. Don't you think they got their marching orders? But it's not working. It's not working. So look for more legislation perhaps, but they're going to start cracking down even more. All right, we tell you famine of word is coming. This is part of that. All right, Amos 8 and 11 and 12. All right, so that's going to be it. Once again, this has been The Hill with Brianna Gray. All right, hey, it's rare that you, but straight to the point. I loved it. I actually did. So in case, forgive me for just seeing this, in case you already have, but I had to bring it out. If so, once again. So again, with that, once again, I hope whoever views this is edified. That's what we do here at Great Millstone. Filter everything through the scriptures, so you'll know what time that you're in. All right, and this is very important in these days. Also, like to stress the importance of prayer and fasting. All right. So with that, until the next video, shalom.